Just after 9 on a Tuesday morning in Philadelphia, June 10, 2025, the city's routine was shattered. The day had begun like any other, with commuters hurrying to work, coffee shops bustling, and the city's heartbeat steady and familiar. But in a single, violent instant, everything changed. A deafening explosion erupted outside the Juanita Kidd Stout Center for Criminal Justice, sending a plume of black smoke skyward. The blast echoed for blocks, rattling windows and setting off car alarms as people froze in shock and confusion. A car was engulfed in flames. This was no accident. The fire raged, consuming metal and glass, while bystanders screamed and scattered, desperate to escape the chaos. It was a calculated bombing, a message delivered with terrifying precision. Whoever orchestrated this attack knew exactly what they were doing, and exactly who they wanted to target. Chaos erupted, people fled, first responders rushed in, and the acrid smell of burning metal filled the air. Sirens wailed as police and firefighters converged on the scene, trying to restore order amid the panic. The target, a prosecutor's sedan, parked outside the courthouse. This was not a random act of violence, but a direct assault on the justice system itself. This was personal, not random. The timing and location were deliberate. The attacker had chosen a moment when the courthouse was busiest, ensuring maximum impact and attention. The attack struck at the heart of Philadelphia's justice system, turning a courthouse into a war zone. The building, once a symbol of order, was now surrounded by barricades and flashing lights. Investigators realized immediately, someone was willing to kill to make a point. The scale and boldness of the attack sent shockwaves through law enforcement and the community alike. The city's sense of security was shattered. Residents watched from behind police tape, their faces etched with fear and disbelief as the reality of the attack set in. Courthouses, meant to be fortresses of order, had become battlegrounds. The very place where justice was served now felt vulnerable, exposed to forces determined to undermine it. The investigation became a frantic race to find a bomber who had declared war on the law. Detectives and federal agents worked around the clock, piecing together clues and following leads through the city's underbelly. The story that would unfold was darker than anyone imagined, a tale of revenge rooted in tragedy. As the city grappled with fear, investigators uncovered secrets that would haunt Philadelphia for years to come. Philadelphia held its breath, waiting for answers, as the shadow of violence lingered over its streets and the search for justice began. To truly understand the rage and heartbreak that followed the bombing, you must first know the man at the center of it all, Officer Christopher Fitzgerald. His story is not just one of duty, but of deep personal commitment and sacrifice. Fitzgerald was more than a badge. He was a loving husband, a devoted father of 4, and a dedicated Temple University police officer. At home, he was the heart of his family, always present for birthdays, school events, and quiet moments. His laughter filled the rooms, and his support was unwavering. On the streets, Fitzgerald believed in connecting with the community. He worked tirelessly to prevent violence, often going beyond his official duties to mentor local youth and build trust with residents. He saw policing as a way to heal, not just enforce. On a frigid February night in 2023, Fitzgerald was on patrol near the Temple campus, vigilant as always. The city was tense, and he knew every night brought new risks. That night he confronted a group near campus. When a suspect fled, Fitzgerald didn't hesitate. He pursued 18-year-old Miles Pfeffer on foot, determined to keep his community safe. A struggle broke out, and then in a flash, gunfire erupted. Fitzgerald was shot and killed. His service weapon was stolen, and his killer escaped by carjacking, leaving chaos and devastation behind. News of his murder sent shockwaves through Philadelphia. He was the first Temple officer ever killed in the line of duty, and the city reeled from the loss. The city mourned a true hero. His funeral drew crowds of grieving citizens, fellow officers, and community leaders, all united in sorrow and respect. As the legal process began, the seeds of revenge and unrest were quietly sown. The pain of loss was matched only by a growing sense of injustice. For his family and the city, the loss was immeasurable. The void left by Fitzgerald's absence was felt in every corner of the community. Fitzgerald's death became a rallying cry for justice, inspiring vigils, protests, and calls for change across Philadelphia. But beneath the public grief, anger simmered. The city's pain was raw, and for some, it was only a matter of time before that pain turned to a desire for explosive vengeance. The tragedy was far from over. In the shadows, a storm was gathering. one that would soon shake the city to its core. Miles Pfeffer, just 18, was arrested for Officer Fitzgerald's murder within a day. Pfeffer's background was troubling, fascinated by weapons, prone to violence, and previously linked to a bomb scare at a local school. His parents were accused in a civil suit of ignoring his instability. Pfeffer faced charges of murder, carjacking, and more. Life in prison loomed. He became the city's symbol of youth violence, the villain in a story with a fallen hero. His mother, who drove him home after the murder, also faced scrutiny. Pfeffer's trial became a lightning rod for public outrage and grief. The relentless pursuit of justice for Fitzgerald would soon spark an even deadlier act. June 10, 2025, the day jury selection was set for Pfeffer's highly anticipated trial, was chosen with chilling precision. The date wasn't random. It was selected to send a message, to strike fear at the very heart of the justice system. The courthouse, usually a symbol of order and safety, became the stage for a meticulously planned act of violence. The lead prosecutor's daily routine had been watched for weeks. Every movement, every habit was noted. On that fateful morning, his car was targeted with a sophisticated, remotely detonated bomb, evidence of careful surveillance and technical expertise. The device itself was deadly, packed with shrapnel and hidden beneath the vehicle under the cover of darkness. It was designed not just to kill, but to send a brutal warning to anyone involved in the case. The bomber waited patiently, choosing a moment when the courthouse was bustling with people: lawyers, jurors, reporters, and bystanders. The goal was clear: to ensure the attack would be witnessed by as many as possible, amplifying its impact. By a twist of fate, the prosecutor was running late that morning. His delay, perhaps just a matter of minutes, saved his life and prevented an even greater tragedy. When the bomb detonated, the explosion rocked the courthouse grounds. Windows shattered, alarms blared, and chaos erupted as people scrambled for safety. The blast sent shockwaves, both literal and figurative, throughout the city. This was more than an attack on one man. It was a direct assault on the rule of law, an attempt to kill, intimidate, and derail the entire judicial process. The courthouse was immediately locked down, and fear spread among all those connected to the case. Within minutes, FBI agents, bomb squads, and tactical teams swarmed the scene, searching for additional threats and combing through debris for clues. The area became a hive of urgent activity as investigators worked to secure the courthouse and protect the public. The Pfeffer trial, which had been months in the making, was postponed indefinitely. The courtroom, once filled with anticipation, now stood empty and silent. Justice had been disrupted, if only temporarily. The attack left a scar on the courthouse and a chilling reminder of the dangers faced by those seeking the truth. The city was left reeling in the aftermath. News vans crowded the streets, investigators canvassed neighborhoods, and the hunt for the perpetrator began in earnest. The message was unmistakable: no one connected to the case was truly safe. Security was tightened, and fear lingered in every corner of the legal community. The stakes had never been higher. With the investigation now at full throttle, law enforcement knew they were racing against time to prevent another attack and restore faith in the justice system. Investigators combed the wreckage for clues, but the real breakthrough came from digital evidence. Security footage revealed a suspicious, unmarked van circling the courthouse before dawn. Analysts tracked the van's route out of the city, following it through a web of surveillance cameras. Purchases of bomb components, chemicals, wiring, remote controls were traced to cryptocurrency transactions and P.O. boxes. Each digital breadcrumb brought investigators closer. A burner phone linked to the purchases pinged repeatedly in Warminster, Bucks County. The phone had been used to research the prosecutor and bomb schematics. The digital ghost was becoming a suspect with a name and a motive. The net was closing in. The investigation led to Michael Patrick Takach Jr., Miles Pfeffer's uncle. The motive snapped into focus. This was personal revenge, not random terror. Takach, fiercely loyal to his nephew, believed the justice system was corrupt and targeted the prosecutor to save Miles. The van was traced to a shell company linked to Takach. Bomb components were purchased using his home's IP address. Friends described him as obsessed with the trial, his anger festering into homicidal rage. Investigators believed he acted alone, driven by a twisted sense of family duty. The bombing was a desperate attempt to derail the trial and rebalance the scales with violence. The revelation shocked the city. A family tragedy had escalated into domestic terrorism. The Pfeffer family's pain now threatened to consume them all. The motive was raw, primal, and terrifyingly clear vengeance. The cycle of violence deepened. The bombing's personal motive unsettled Philadelphia even more than the attack itself. If a prosecutor could be targeted, who was safe? Judges, attorneys, and jurors all felt vulnerable. Security at the courthouse was ramped up. Checkpoints, police, and restricted parking became the new normal. The building felt like a fortress under siege, a constant reminder of the attack. The community's trauma deepened, and public discourse turned to fear, anger, and exhaustion. Vigils were held for both Officer Fitzgerald and the city's lost sense of order. Law enforcement felt under attack, forging a renewed sense of solidarity. The city was on edge, determined to see justice done. The next chapter was uncertain, but the resolve to fight back was clear. With Takach in custody, justice could finally move forward. Miles Pfeffer's trial resumed under heavy security. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury found him guilty of first-degree murder, life in prison without parole. Takach's trial followed, with digital and physical evidence tying him to the bombing. He pleaded guilty to using a weapon of mass destruction and attempting to murder a federal officer, receiving 30 years in federal prison. For the Fitzgerald family, the convictions brought legal closure but not healing. They continued to honor Christopher's memory and pursue civil accountability. The targeted prosecutor returned to work, a symbol of resilience. The justice system had been tested, but it held. Security protocols changed permanently, and the case became a national lesson in the dangers of personal vendetta. The scars, however, would take much longer to heal. Years later, the echoes of these crimes still haunt Philadelphia. The story is a lesson in how violence ripples outward, shattering families and communities. Officer Fitzgerald's legacy is one of sacrifice. Pfeffer and Takach, of destruction born from rage. The case forced law enforcement to adapt, using digital forensics to catch a new breed of criminal. Takach's radicalization was personal, not political, a warning about the dangers of lone wolf extremism. The city's resilience and the courage of its public servants remain its greatest defense. The legal chapters are closed, but the human story continues. For more in-depth investigations, subscribe to our channel.